Welcome to the 8-Bit Pop Culture Show. I'm Hekla Petursson. And one topic that's been trending online in 2025, and even more so in 2026, is ironically the idea of connecting in person in real life. During COVID, it was really cool that people could make these online communities where they could play games together and share music. But now we're left craving more, and Gen Z especially is having to relearn how to make friends with the neighbor or get out to the club. Well, I am interviewing today a dynamic duo who exudes the answer to this problem. This is Amanda Robinson, the founder of Virago Alley, and Ash Moore, the managing director of Virago Alley, who have come together to create something amazing. So please help me welcome them as we talk about the first inaugural Richmond Renaissance Fair. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey. Hi.
I'm so excited that you're here. I cannot be quiet about the Richmond Ren Faire. It is the coolest thing coming to Richmond. Tell me, when did this idea form?
It has been many years in the making. I've been in the art scene for over 20 years in Richmond. I'm the founder of Gallery 5. So creating events, organizing events, the nonprofit world, and collaborations with artists are not new to me.
Yeah.
But this concept of the Richmond Renaissance Fair, not only because I think it's needed in this community, but it's just something that's I'm passionate about as far as preservation of historic techniques. I see, Richmond is a landscape full of artists and makers and creatives. There's so many folks doing amazing things in this community. But some of the art forms that I feel like I've sort of been driven to over the past few years are just underrepresented. And those are things like in the midst of COVID, when COVID shut this world down, I feel that was the time where I had a moment for the first time in over 20 years to stop and just breathe. And that time inspired me to really get back to some of the art forms and creative sort of outlets that inspired me as a child. So at that time, I dove into herbalism. I dove into hiking the Appalachian Trail. My husband sort of picked up a bow and put a bow in my hand for the first time, and I became crazy passionate about archery. And it just made me stop and think, being tapped into this art scene and realizing that so many people are interested in getting away from their computer screens.
Yeah.
In a time of automation and computers, it felt like a Ren Faire was something that would bring our community together. It would be a moment to kind of step away, get outside of our homes, and kind of dive into sort of this fantasy world and where we can have fun and play. And it just felt like the timing was right for this experience.
Yeah, and I agree. It's so necessary. Me and my friends even are always craving something like this.
Yeah.
And I think if people have seen you on social media, your archery videos are so
Woo-hoo.
cool. It's so grounding to see you do that kind of stuff. So when did you start collaborating, you two? Because you post and it's a very, you give girl boss energy to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's really sweet. So Amanda and I met through Gallery 5. We're both on the board for that organization. I've been involved for going on 3 years now. I came in a couple months after you came back. You joined the board after a little bit of a hiatus. And we just kind of found that we work together really well. We kind of pick up where the other leaves off, and for some reason we tend to understand each other's brains, which is, I think, for both of us, not always the easiest thing to find.
It's a lot for anyone to understand the way my brain works.
We found that we not just work together well, but had a very similar view on community organizing and the way that the arts play a role in our social landscape, and that's something that I really value in the work that I do and the people that I collaborate with. So, I'm very grateful for
it's
this
not
working relationship.
It's not every day that it clicks like that, right? I mean, I feel like once a decade, maybe once every 20 years, I'm able to find a partner in crime like Ash, and it's just it's the work ethic, not the business ethic, the work ethic. I think that we see a project, we see a goal, and we're not going to stop until we get there. So, that's how I met my husband. Not that we're going to get married. I love you to death, but Yeah, we just work so well together. And like Ash said, it's like they complete my sentences. We both bring a sort of different perspective, but are with the same mission in mind.
Yeah, that's so special, especially because it's so clear, I think, to everyone that this isn't like a for-profit, money-making event. This is so grassroots and people coming together. So let's talk about the scope because it's huge.
Yeah, it's a beast. It is a beast.
You have people participating from all over the city, and I think a little bit out too. Tell me, I guess, how big is this going to get?
Yeah, so this event takes place on April 18th and 19th at Dory Park in Henrico County. We're activating 13 acres of Dory Park where there are 2 equestrian rings are. We're programming 4 stages with the 5th one in the works. 2 equestrian rings. One of those equestrian rings will have actual equestrian jousting and other historic gaming.
So cool.
The other will be bringing to life all of the historic combat demonstrations. We've got archery. And one really cool thing is that we are bringing to life 13 guilds that represent various historic trades as well as existing communities in Richmond that have been really pivotal in our arts and culture scene or helping to tell this story. And the neat thing about these guilds is that, just one guild, for example, our Herbalist Guild, Herbalist and Healers Guild, is bringing multiple local herbalists together to sort of create an alliance that are, and together will be forming multiple demonstrations and programming throughout the day. So each of these guilds are, representing a larger community. So when I think of like collaboration, to me, this is like the largest collaboration of local artists of any initiative I've ever been a part of in Richmond and I may have ever seen in Richmond. There's just a lot of intention and overlap and weaving together of organizations and stories.
So cool. And the guilds, they make me think of kind of when you were talking about childhood whimsy.
Yeah.
I think of my little kid self looking for the guild that feels the most like me, and like learning a cool skill like herbalism from someone is so sick. No better term for it. So when you're working with all of these organizations, there's a new theme you're bringing to the Ren Faire. A lot of Ren Fairs have a very similar storyline where it might be the queen lost her king or the king lost her queen. Tell me about what's making Richmond Ren Faire different because I'm excited.
Yeah, so rather than choosing to focus on those stories of nobility that, like you said, they're done time and time again, we chose to focus in on the people, the artists and the makers. Yes. On the artists and the makers that really truly made it, this moment of time where we continue to look back on it for inspiration. A Renaissance at its core is a reformation of new thought, and a lot of that is drawn from the arts. We all know that the arts have a lot of power to bring people together and to change the way that we see the world. So it was important for us to kind of like hone in on that. It felt more mission aligned for us to take that direction. So we will be following this story that is a sort of reimagined history. It's not fully fantastical, but it's not a direct pull from history either. That follows the story of the withering, which is a phenomenon that's happening in this sort of post-industrial kind of world that is a nod to disconnection in an automated society. And people are being called together for this event that we're calling the Regathering, which is bringing people together from all of these different trades and representations to kind of remind ourselves of these traits that make us human and these practices that bring us together. And, it offers up an opportunity for us to all put down our screens and get back to working with our hands. The river is a huge part of our storyline, as it's a huge part of our local environment and cultural landscape here in Richmond. We really wanted it to tie back to our local communities. And the way that water is, through so many cultures, this metaphorical thing that not only remembers our histories, but carries us forward. So it's been really important for us to explore that both with within our team, but also with the people that we're working with to kind of craft this unique experience that you can't really necessarily find anywhere else.
Oh, and it's such a beautiful storyline. I can tell that's the kind of passionate storyline people are going to feel when they walk in. And it also, I feel, you were talking about how it's not exact history, and I feel like that lends to the way Ren Fairs have been moving when people are showing up in their Dungeons and Dragons character
Yeah.
and stuff. So I think it works so well.
It has moved very fantastical over the last, I'd say, decade or so.
Not to say there won't be cameos of historical figures.
Yeah.
'Cause there may be a few.
Yeah, if people missed Warriors in Bloom, which was one of your fundraising events, and many awesome pictures right here, you brought together female warrior characters, and I was very lucky to portray one of them. But it was so empowering to be and to see these women lined up, standing tall. And so, I think it's just really magical.
Yeah, we want this to be more than just a Ren Faire. You know, any of our events, there's a lot of intention and work that goes into it so that when people come, they're taking away something more than just, you know, vendors at tables and performers on stage. Like, we want there to be a message.
And so for people who maybe they haven't been to a Ren Faire, because there's not one that close by, what should they expect? Do they need to dress up? Do they need to say huzzah a couple times?
I mean, they're welcome to say huzzah. I mean, I think people can come dressed as they please. We don't want people to feel like that's a barrier to come and have a good time. Although we do encourage dressing up if that's something that you enjoy. I think that, you know, we both have a good time with it. Everyone that is involved, that seems to be like, you know, it's part of the escapism, right? Yes. You're entering into this new world and it lets you feel like you're a part of it. But you should definitely still come, even if that's not part of your prerogative, you know.
And I think also for people who haven't come, they might think of it as just the vendors or just the performances. But one thing I think is really special is the people roaming around that you can interact with. And I know a lot of your vendors are small local businesses who are selling really unique stuff. So if people want to get tickets and they need to get to the Ren Faire, how can they find it? How can they get involved?
Yeah, so viragoalley.org, that's our website, and we will have tickets available between now and the event as long as they do not sell out. You can find them on that site. We have an outside ticketing site that's linked on that webpage.
Yeah. And what is Virago? I'm sure people
Yes.
ask. So Virago Alley, the name of our nonprofit, the nonprofit behind the Richmond Renaissance Fair, our organization is dedicated to the preservation of historic artisan trades as well as martial arts. And we're working towards building a facility that will be dedicated to education, learning, and studio space, as well as Richmond's first indoor archery range and historic combat facility. So that's sort of the long-term goal. I'd like to think it's not too far down the road. But in the meantime, we have been offering workshops and demonstrations for martial arts, and after Ren Faire, we'll be launching more programmatic offerings to the community for our local artisans, from basket weaving and calligraphy to chainmail. That's what the last sort of year and a half has been, is sort of, again, developing those relationships, understanding the needs in the community. But when it comes to the word virago, you see two pretty independent folks here. Virago, is a term that sort of represents traditionally a female figure that sort of defies social norms and gender norms. Some people that assume that women can't do the things that men can do. At that time, it was about women that were willing to sort of pick up a sword and go into battle. There's so many amazing viragos in history, but I wanted something that was a little bit more ambiguous for our organization, that represented fierceness and fight, regardless of what society places on us. So when we came up with the Virago Alley, I thought that would be more inclusive to many people. And it was kind of what empowered the Warriors in Bloom concept, which we will be doing again this August at Agecroft Hall as a 2-day event. But that event being dedicated to showcasing underrepresented stories in history from a fearless women.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And that's a term I didn't know until I heard about your organization, and it took me in a whole deep dive that was so cool. And I think the classes and the workshops you're talking about really fit into that, because those are really empowering trades that you can't sign up for in any city to learn how to do those things. Also, I'd like to add, while we're talking about Warriors in Bloom and where to get tickets, that Warriors in Bloom sold out and people were showing up to the gates to come in. So
very sad.
I think that's a push for people to get their tickets before the event comes out.
We really do encourage, buy your tickets early. Do not wait, because it is the worst feeling to have to turn people down at the gate. And we do have a max capacity, unfortunately.
But that also means if people think their friends are going to love this, that they need to send it to them now because it's going to sell out quick.
Yeah. And we'll be, we'll be kind of trickling out some more information in the upcoming weeks about who's going to be participating from the vendor side of things as well as who's performing in this event. So really keep an eye out for what to expect because it'll start becoming clearer and clearer over the coming weeks. Like I said, to everyone, we're going to start letting that all out.
Sweet. And your social media is so gorgeous because you have such cool things going on. I really recommend people follow you on social media, not only to get the updates, but just to see how cool everybody is.
We do have fun.
And there's going to be a lot of neat ways to get involved building up to the Ren Faire because we're launching several event initiatives and collaborations with local breweries, our local meadery in Richmond, and we're even doing an event at Bird Theater on February 7th. We're showcasing a screening of The Princess Bride with some fight sequences fight demos during the film, as well as a costume contest. So it's going to be a pretty fun adventure at Bird Theater. So
that is
definitely
so cool.
check out that. Tickets are also on sale for that.
Tickets are on sale.
ViragoAlley.org.
Yeah,
And that's a cult classic.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be a great time. We'll have like a partial shadow cast, not a full shadow cast, but a partial. So expect some fun moments throughout the film.
So cool. Even if you can't go to the Ren Faire, there are tons of ways you can support. Even if you just love the concept of Virago Alley itself, there's so many other ways to support. And so thank you so much for coming and for showcasing what you have.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Amanda and Ash are so cool. And don't you just feel the passion exuding from this project? It is so awesome to see so many artists and creators and doers in Richmond coming together to make this happen. So whether you're into it for dressing up or learning a new skill, or just saying you went to the very first Richmond Ren Faire, show up. Tickets are totally going to sell out. There were countless people in full costume who came after tickets sold out for their last event. So don't be one of them. This has been the 8-Bit Pop Culture Show. I'm Hekla Petursson, and if you want to tell me what you loved or what you hated about my episodes, check me out at The Hekla on social media. You can also catch this episode on the WIC Plus streaming app, as well as the phone app, the website, or wherever you get your news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.